So where we'll go is to this color tab at the bottom. So this would look very scary. So I'll try to keep it as simple as possible. So let's just how do I? Okay, this is this little object on the right side here. It's called a node. So what a node is basically like a layer where you can make adjustments on. So how do you add, like every time you want to make an adjustment, we recommend that you make a new node. So what you can do is press Option S. Option S will create a new node. If you want to right click, you can do so, right click and then add node, add serial. Add node, add serial. Then you do the same thing. The shortcut is Option S. On Windows, it's Alternate S. Okay, so for simplicity's sake, we are just gonna cover brightness and contrast, saturation, and color temperature, which is the white balance. So we'll start with brightness and contrast. Let me just reset this. So this is usually how PixelStudio shoots our video. For your most of your case, you all will shoot with mobile phones. You won't have this kind of video footage, but this is a bit on the extreme side. So I just want to show you what we can do with this footage. So what we're going to do now is just add a label. We're going to do brightness and contrast first. So we put B and C. So how do you adjust your brightness and contrast? Gain is your highlights. Gamma is your midtones. Lift is your shadows, the darkest parts. Bright, middle, and dark. Okay, so we based on this graph, you can, if you don't have this, you can click on this icon here, the graph icon, and then go to parade. Then this is your brightest part and this is your darkest part of this footage. Okay, so we're gonna make it brighter and add more contrast. So we bring it up just before the line hits 1023. So beyond this point is where all your detail is lost. It's already pure white, so there's no more details above this point. And then below 0 is already pure black, darkness, so you won't have any more details there. So once you drag your gain by dragging this little scroll wheel, once you drag it up to 1023, you can drag your lift down to 0. So this instantly adds more contrast to your footage. So if we are satisfied with this, we can move on to saturation. So Option S again, you create a new node, and then we rename it to set for saturation. Then where is saturation? Saturation, you can find it down at this bottom tab. There's a SAT here. This is your saturation. So when you bring it to the right, you give it more saturation. You bring it to the left, it becomes desaturated. Okay, so once you are satisfied with this, for now the color balance looks fine. So let me just get an example from the next clip. And let me reset this. So as you can see, this is how we shoot normally. If you want to copy over from this, what adjustments you've made here to this one, you can just select this and then you right click the first one and click on apply grade. This copies everything, but you will notice that it doesn't work every time, because maybe while you are shooting, the lighting condition has changed or you have changed your location. So what we can go and do now is to fix the dark parts of this video, which is her hair is too black. So we'll go back to B and C here and then go to lift and raise it up just before it hits 0. And then we'll bring the gain up because it's too it's not bright enough. So you can see the blue is too much. So we'll correct that in a bit. Let's just bring it up. And then after saturation, we'll add another node. And then we'll call this white balance, WB. So white balance is normally what we'll do when our footage is too blue or too orange. So in this case, we can see from this graph here that the video itself is too blue. So what we can do is go to the bottom here. You can switch from 1 to 2, and then under temperature, this stands for temperature, we will drag it to the right. That will give it more warmth, more orange tones, and make it more neutral. Then you can see a bit of the gain is too much. So we go back to B and C and bring down the gain. This makes your clip more balanced. Okay, everyone is okay so far? Any questions? So like take for example this shot here. I intentionally left it like this so I can go in and correct it again. So we can add B and C. And I'll raise the brightness. And then I'll change the color temperature. Change it to WP. And then change the white balance to more blue. So usually for my case, how I base what is white. Basically, when you adjust this, you want to get a white color. So how I base it is when when a particular thing in the image, you know it's white color and it's the brightest part of the image, you can base it off the highest peak. So you can bring it more to the left to make sure that it's more even. Yeah. So take for example this shot just now. We know that the sky, the light coming in is white color, so we can base it off this the highest point in the footage. Yes. So that's basically it for color correction. Any questions? I'll leave it to you guys leave you guys with some time to type some questions if you all have. Otherwise, I will move on to exporting. Okay, so Chris is asking, is there a way to set the standard color grading you would like and set it across clips that come from different sources? There is a way to sort of group clips together under one color grade. Yeah, there is a way, but it's very, very complicated, which I don't really want to go into it with everyone. Maybe you can look up some tutorials on this. There's some tutorials on YouTube for this specific thing you are asking for. Okay, anonymous attendee asks, what if within the same clip, the lighting is different? We need to snip the clip and edit them frame by frame. The answer is no. You don't need to edit them frame by frame. You will have to edit them clip by clip, but not frame by frame. So you can make a cut already, then you add a frame, not add a frame, sorry. Let me just go through this. Okay, so for example, if the original was too dark here and then it was too bright here, you can just make a cut here. And then now that you have two separate clips, you will be able to edit them separately as two clips here. So you can just go in and then change this one, then this one remains unchanged. Okay, Faisal asks, other than color correction, can we also correct the sharpness and details? The answer is yes, you can, but it's quite complicated. But I'll just point you in the direction. It will be over here. This is where you can create your mask. Like you want to mask his face, you want to draw a circle on his face for the sharpness to be placed in. Then once you have that, you can go to this little icon here for blur and sharpness. Yeah, so you can use this for sharpening. But it's also I wouldn't recommend going too deep into this part of color grading for beginners.